Hi folks, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be doing a harmonic analysis of one of my favorite jazz tunes, Stella by Starlight. And I'm trying something a little bit different today. I have a camera here, and I've got one right here. And throughout the video I'll be going back and forth, playing a little bit of guitar, and doing a written analysis of Stella on the lead sheet. So you can see all the writing that I'm doing, all the marks and notes that I'm making, and I will put a link to a blank copy of Stella in the description so you can follow along at home if you'd like. And I'll also include the finished product. I'm also going to link the original recording, which is from a movie called The Uninvited. It's an old movie, and Stella by Starlight is the main theme. It's a beautiful performance, beautiful recording. And I'm going to be comparing that to the real book version, and we're going to compare and contrast and have some fun that way. So I've always loved Stella. It was one of the first jazz tunes I ever learned, and I always enjoy working on it with students. There's a lot of really interesting twists and turns in there, a lot of opportunities for cool scales, you know, reharmonization, stuff like that. So I think this video is going to be a lot of fun, and I hope you enjoy it. And without much further ado, let's get started. All right, so let's start off with the first 8 bars. They're going to sound something like this. So right off the bat, we're kind of throwing a curveball, and I'm talking about this first 2/5 right there. I'm going to mark it as a 2/5 by putting a bracket underneath it like that, and we're going to skip that for now and come back later. So after that, we have another 2/5, another 2/5 here, and then some other chords. So if you haven't noticed, if you didn't notice already, we're in the key of B flat major. Which is identified by the key signature. So key of B flat. And we know, again, we're going to skip this, we know the C minor 7 is the 2 minor 7 in the key of B flat. We know the F7 is the 5/7. Very standard stuff for jazz, 2/5s. Now the 1, or the 2/5, the 5/7 wants to resolve to the 1. We're looking for a 1 major 7th chord, or some type of 1 tonic major chord. We don't get that. Eventually we do get a B flat chord over here, but this chord is technically unresolved. It doesn't go to exactly where it's supposed to go. So 2/5, no 1. Then we come down here and we get another 2/5, and you know, in relation to B flat, well, this is nothing. That's not in the key. This is the 5 of 4. It's kind of cool. 5/7 of 4, and E flat major 7 is the 4 major 7, and this one does indeed resolve. We don't really call the F minor 7 anything. Again, it's not diatonic to B flat, but we recognize that it's a 2/5. You know, it's paired up with the 5/7 of 4. Excuse me, 4 here. Then we have flat 7/7, which is a cool chord, and that kind of has a pushing up effect. You know, I've talked about this in previous videos, but whereas, you know, standard dominant, the 5/7 chord resolves by a 5th, you know, we're all used to hearing that. Again, the flat 7/7 just kind of has a, again, just kind of pushes it up to the tonic. It's a cool effect. So that's one way to look at it. You know, another way is, in fact, the way that I tend to hear it most of the time is this is actually a quick little modulation to E flat. So I'll say the top part here is B flat, but again, a quick little modulation to E flat. And the reason I tend to say that is because we don't have, you may have noticed, we don't have a B flat major chord anywhere in this first 8 bars, which is kind of odd if you're writing a song in B flat, or if you're playing a song in B flat, you'd expect to hear some sort of resolution to B flat fairly early in the song, but we don't get that. Instead, we have this kind of long journey to this chord, this E flat major 7 chord, and it kind of sounds resolved there. And if it's your first time listening to the song, you may even say, oh yeah, well there's the tonic, and because of that, I kind of feel that, again, we know it starts in B flat, but because we feel so resolved there and at home, I look at this as a quick little modulation. So if we're going to do that, this would be the 2 minor 7 in the key of E flat. This would be the 5-7, and again, it resolves to the 1 major 7. This here would be the 4-7, which is a cool chord, and this one is actually going to push us in another direction. But we'll stop there for now, and right now we will return to these first 2 bars. So E minor 7 flat 5, sharp 4, minor 7, flat 5. That's not too crazy. You've seen that before. The A7 flat 9 is a little tricky. You think of A7 flat 9 in relation to B flat, maybe it's the 5-7 of 3. Problem is it doesn't go to 3, and it's not meant to go to 3, so it's not any type of secondary dominant like that. You may also think of it as the 7-7. So A being the 7th degree of B flat, just construct a dominant 7th chord from that. That chord typically goes back to 1, any type of dominant chord that's not a secondary dominant. It doesn't really have a dominant function. It's not resolving to by a 5th. Typically those chords resolve back to 1. So like a 7-7, a 3-7, 4-7. That's not what happens here either, because again, we don't have a 1 chord. So it's not, I'm going to say that it's not the 5-7 of 3. It is not that. It is not the 7-7. Instead, what this is actually a reharmonization of a diminished chord. And that diminished chord is the tonic diminished. So if you actually listen to the original recording, which again I have linked in the description, this, for the first measure of the head, is a big old B flat diminished 7 major 7. I apologize if you hear the sirens outside. First video in New York City, so that's how it is. But again, the B flat diminished 7 major 7, major 7 being the melody, and it's 2 measures of that. Already a little bit more diatonically B flat. So where do we get this 2-5? Well, the B flat diminished 7, is really part of that A7 flat 9 chord. The diminished chord can be part of, any diminished 7th chord can be part of 4 different dominant chords, and this is a topic for another video, but you may have heard of this concept before, because if you have an A7 flat 9, you have A, C sharp, E, G, B flat. If you remove the root, the A, you're left with a diminished 7th chord. In this case, it's this B flat diminished 7. So all they do is they just turn the diminished chord into a dominant chord, they pair it up with a 2, and bam. If you're a bebop player, now you have a 2-5 to play over, which is a little bit more friendly than 2 measures of a diminished chord. It's like, what do we do here? It goes on forever. Even though this 2-5 is a little less clear of, the tonality, kind of goes all over the place, you still have some licks to play over it. So again, this is really a reharmonization of a 1 diminished chord, and I'm actually going to write anything that's has to do with reharmonization or kind of additional options, I'm going to write in red ink. So again, 1 diminished 7, and I'll say, like I said, you have 4 dominant chords that can be derived, that can be paired up with this particular diminished chord. I'll say B flat, diminished 7, major 7 in the original recording. You have A7 written in the real book. So again, another option might be C7. So you could say C7, again, related to B flat diminished 7. The 2 paired up with C7 would be G minor 7. So let's hear how that sounds. A little more diatonic, maybe it's not quite clear that it's B flat up front, but it does flow a little nicer into B flat eventually, and that may be what you're looking for. But let's see, another option might be F sharp 7. Again, these are flat 9s, so flat 9. F sharp 7, the 2 you would pair up with that would be C sharp minor 7. Getting a little crazy here. Now the thing about C sharp minor 7 is you're gonna have to bend the rules a little bit to accommodate that melody. You're gonna have to make that a C sharp minor 7 sharp 5, okay, which is a cool chord. I've talked about it before. It's also known as Fred. Check out my cool chords video. It's a very awesome, it's a very flexible contemporary jazz chord. But here is one of its uses, the C sharp minor 7 sharp 5, F sharp 7 flat 9, and the melody sharp 9 third. You could also go C sharp minor 7 sharp 5, C7, C13. Try that out for a change. Just some options. Again, some of them might be a little bit more friendly to B flat, and that may be what you can throw that in every now and then. If you play this with a band or something, if you play this at a jam session, of course you're going to play the written chords, but if you do like chord melodies, your own arrangements, you can try some of these other harmonizations. And one I really like, it's probably the most straightforward, is if you actually take an inversion of this 1 diminished 7th chord, which would be flat 3 diminished 7, same chord, same diminished 7th chord. So we have the B flat as the 1, the D flat would be the flat 3, and what you can actually do is just start on the flat 3 diminished 7, which leads nicely into C minor 7, it leads nicely into that 2-5. In fact, you can even start on a B flat major 7 first inversion like this. So there's a D in the bass, D flat, just a passing diminished chord, that flat 3 descending diminished into the 2 minor 7. So that screams B flat, and actually there we've kind of de-harmonized the song and made it just almost completely diatonic there. Well, it is diatonic, so that's something that you might want to try fooling around with. And I'll just say, this particular, the written changes, that particular choice can be heard in other songs. This sharp 4 minor 7 flat 5, then the 7 7, if that's what you want to call it. That sound is a not popular. It doesn't happen all the time, but it is used to reharmonize the tonic diminished chord or that inversion, the flat 3 diminished. And one example I can think of is Georgia. So Georgia's in the key of F. And we have that second line, which is going to go, here's an F major 7, here's the sharp 4 minor 7, there's the flat 7, or there's the 7 7 to the 2 minor 7, and then 2 5 1. So, you know, with a diminished chord, it would be like flat 3 diminished 7, A flat diminished 7 to the 2, and the 5 to the 1. Again, if I reharmonize that, F major 7, B minor 7, E7, G minor 7, you know, etc. So sometimes you'll see Georgia written with that sharp 4, I think it's minor 7 in Georgia, but again, it's the same type of reharmonization with a diminished chord. And then another one, which is the example that I was actually taught this concept with, is Till There Was You. The second part of the A section, the second line. Written, I think it's flat 3 diminished to the 2 minor 7, 2 5 1. So here we're in the key of E flat. So we have E flat major 7, G flat diminished 7, F minor 7, B flat 7. And if I want to reharmonize that, E flat major 7, A minor 7 flat 5, there's the sharp 4, D7, there's the 7 to F minor 7 to B flat 7, 2 5 1. So again, so when you use that flat 3 diminished 7, it's a little more traditional sounding. When you reharmonize it with this, you know, sharp 4 and the 7 7 7, it's a little more bebop sounding. And of course, again, we love playing our 2/5 licks over 2/5s. So if you're in a bebop, you know, this should make you happy. But anyway, those are just some examples of this diminished, you know, reharmonization concept. And I'll say that, you know, when you play your 2/5s, you play your licks over this 2/5, you really have to be careful that you don't resolve to, you know, because if you're playing a 2/5, you're going to probably resolve to 1. You have to be careful you don't resolve this A7 chord to a D minor. I can't tell you how many times I've just kind of, you know, ripped into a solo and absentmindedly, you know, played my licks that didn't go where they were supposed to go, and then you kind of have to come to a screeching halt and, you know, start again with a C minor 7. So I just recommend being careful there. And one scale you can use that actually will resolve nicely to C minor 7 is the diminished scale. And I'm actually going to write like improv ideas with green ink. So we'll say diminished scale. And yeah, so if you have the so a little more friendly than just kind of playing as a regular old A7 flat 9. It just has a really nice, some really nice resolution points because, you know, let's see here. What am I trying to do? My ear just kind of, I just hear the resolution points in there. And, you know, it takes some experimentation, but that's the scale I usually use in this part. You can pair that up with a Locrian natural 2, kind of, you know, similar to the, or leads nicely into the diminished scale. Natural 2 just being the F sharp in the E minor 7 flat 5, kind of a cool contemporary sound. Into the diminished. So you might check some of those scale options out. One thing here you'll notice in the original recording, they actually do a nice flat 13, which is a common tension, common altered tension that when you have like an F7 go into an F minor 7, that's something you'll hear quite a bit. It's going to sound, a little something like that. So flat 13 there. Something else I like to do is B7 here, and actually, go to like a B flat pedal type thing here, B flat 11. All right, sorry, ran out of batteries there. Just a few more notes on these first 8 bars right here in the second line. When you're improvising this B flat 7, if you're going to resolve to the E flat major 7 chord, a good scale choice might be like some sort of Mixolydian flat 9, but make sure you have the natural 13 in there. So, that melody note right there is pretty crucial. You don't want to hammer like a flat 13 in there too much. So, I'll just write, like natural 13. Yeah. Just to give it a major sound, another option might be the diminished scale. That would typically imply a major resolution. One of the, couple popular scale choices over dominant chords, alter dominant and the diminished scale. Alter dominant, the 7th mode of melodic minor, typically has a little more harsh, well, it's got the flat 13, so you have to be a little bit careful when you're using it over a major 2-5. That flat 13 turns into the flat 3 in the 1 chord. But the diminished scale has natural 13, and that's really the main difference between the diminished and the alter dominant scale. They all have the same tensions except for that 13. So just one little note there. Diminished scale. The A flat 7, again functioning as the 4-7, which is going to pivot us back into the B flat major 7 in a second here. Always the scale of choice there for the 4-7 or the flat 7-7 is the Lydian dominant, the 4th degree of the melodic minor scale. And again, we're resolving this chord to B flat. There's a lot of nice resolution points, to B flat. Just any of those. So it's a very cool sound. Again, pretty much any dominant 7th chord that's not the 5, you're going to use Lydian flat 7. Very cool scale. And actually, I just realized I forgot to flat this. Flat 7-7. And then just one reharm I sometimes like to do. I kind of started it up here, the B7. Sometimes I'll go into the B flat 11 chord. The so like basically just kind of start walking this down, B flat 11, and then here I'll go like B flat over A flat, that cool chord. Continue it down, E flat over G, and then I'll just put this over G flat. It might be like a C minor 7 flat 5 over G flat, E flat minor 6, something like that, all over G flat, or again just an A flat. It's your call, but again, that's just another type of and then in the next line I resolve to B flat major 7 over F. Anyway, moving on to the next couple of lines, we have some cool stuff. So now we finally get that resolution to the tonic of the key, 1 major 7 chord. Finally, it's about time. So again, B flat is the key, B flat major 7 is the 1 chord. And then right after that, we are given this 2-5 again, kind of a callback to the first couple of bars, but this time it is not functioning as a diminished chord. Instead, it is indeed the this A7 chord is the 5-7 of 3, and it resolves as so. this is still the sharp 4 minor 7 flat 5. Here we have the 5/7 of 3, and this time it does indeed resolve to the 3 minor 7. You know, very cool. And 3 minor 7. After that, we go in a different direction. Now again, I still think we're all B flat here. We're about to take a turn. But the reason I think this is still B flat, and this is indeed 3 minor 7 as opposed to a modulation, is to me, like, if I'm hearing this for the first time or if I just play this progression, this might go back. That might go back to B flat. It could turn around. So to me, we haven't changed keys just yet. And then one more note here. As I said, it's not functioning as a diminished reharmonization there. On the original recording, there is a different chord here, and it's kind of interesting. It's actually just a G minor chord. So some nice diatonic, you know, B flat harmony. Again, still generally B flat, you know, it'd be like the 6 minor, 3 minor. Anyway, that's all hypothetical, but again, here it is indeed the G minor. So where do you get this 2/5? Well, the next chord is, you know, the 3 minor, so you could argue that they just reharmonized it completely and put a secondary dominant in there, but the E minor 7 flat 5 may also, you can also think of that as a G minor 6, so maybe they kind of, maybe a little column A, a little column B, who knows. But again, 2 5s are much more interesting than just a minor triad. You know, bebop guys are going to want to play over 2 5s, so so there we have another one. Again, 3 minor here. Now we're going in another direction. So again, we're in the key of B flat. You know, if you think of this as the 1 minor, like, okay, maybe, and then the 4/7, it's a possibility. But really, right here, just the way where it's placed in the, you know, in this section is, it kind of sounds like it's leading into something else. So for me, what we have here is, if you look ahead, we're going to resolve to F major 7. Whoops, sorry. We have a direct modulation, or at least, you know, we have a modulation to the key of F right there. And this is going to be the 4 minor 7. This is going to be the flat 7, 7. Again, that flat 7, 7. Kind of have that pushing up effect, which is going to get us into F major 7. Let's see here. So yeah, the F major 7 will be the new 1 chord. And then let's see here. The you know, an interesting thing right here is, in the original recording, we kind of have a this is all over D flat. We kind of have something like this going on. This doesn't happen up here, this descending bass line, but it starts on the D minor, it goes to D flat. It's really like a B flat minor 6 over D flat. This is over C, and then it keeps going down here. I'll get to that in a second. What we have written on the lead sheet, we have this 2/5 again, hearkening back to up here and up there. And the funny thing is that it functions differently each time. Here again, diminished chord. Here is just kind of a reharmonization of G minor and functioning as a dominant chord, this A7 flat 9. Here, actually, what happens is it's replacing another diminished chord, but that diminished chord is not the same, well, it's not the exact same one as up there. It's not the 1 diminished. It's just kind of a passing diminished. It's that B flat diminished 7, which would lead you down into the A minor 7 flat 5 and so forth. So let me play this section real quick. onto the bridge in a second. But again, what's happening here in the original recording, starting on this D minor 7, we're getting that type of chord, bass, you know, just descending down. Still descending until right here we land on the A, and then we go a fifth, by a fifth there to the D7, and eventually we'll go to the G7 in the bridge. So that's all some pretty cool stuff. A lot going on there. A lot of, again, twists and turns. You know, I find it interesting that this 2.5, you know, if you listen to the, you know, nothing but bebop versions and jazz versions, you may not realize that it's replacing a different chord each time. It kind of sounds, I know when I improvise over this song, sometimes I think, oh yeah, here comes this progression again, this 2.5 again and again and again, and you know, it gets a little bit repetitive, but really the intent was not that. So let's see here. All pretty standard stuff. You know, here's a Lydian flat 7 again. Lydian flat 7 with the flat 7/7 resolving to the F major 7. So in this case it'd be B flat melodic minor. I'm guessing, you know, if you followed me up to this point, you know how to play over a 2.5. I don't think I need to go too much into that. This is, actually I need to label these. This here is indeed the 7, you know, we can call this the 7 minor 7 flat 5, that's perfectly okay. Here we have the, in F, this would be the 5 of the 6, 5/7 of 6, and even though we do get to, you know, a D chord of some sort eventually, it's not D minor. Again, kind of like up here, this chord eventually goes to a B flat chord, but it's not the B flat chord we want. So we're looking to resolve to a D minor chord here. Instead we get a D7. So this one is indeed unresolved. And then we get, you know, another 2.5 here, a big dramatic one. Here we have the 5/7 of 2 in the key of F. That's not diatonic, so I don't really call it anything, but we acknowledge that it is part of the 2.5. And then we're into the bridge. Now, I'll say here you can do, it's your choice, you know, altered dominant would work. Also do diminished scale. You have some cool choices there. A very tense moment, so just bring on the tension, you know, bring on every. Let's, etc. Let's see. Did I miss anything? I think we're ready to move on. All right, so now we're at the bridge, and frankly, the second half of the song just flows very nicely. All the action kind of happens in the first half, and you know it's a heck of a road to get to this point. But you know, this is the most dramatic point in the song, and it's probably the I won't say simplest harmonically, but it is it settles down a good bit. So right off the bat, we came from the key of F major, and in my opinion this is immediately in B flat again, which was where we started originally. The reason I would say that is, yes, G7 can be part of F major, it can be, you know, the 5 of 5, it can be a 2/7, but typically you don't have that this type of tension, the sharp 5 on the 2/7. At least not, you know, prominently and as part of the melody. Here we have it as a whole note. It's very, you know, emphasized, and that's not really, that's telling me it's not really F major anymore. So to me this is B flat, and in the key of B flat this would indeed be the 5/7 of 2. Here we have the 2 minor 7. It does indeed resolve there. So we have the, coming from the D7, you know, G7 sharp 5, G7 altered, you know, to that C minor 7 with the 11 on top. So the melody is really crucial here, again, because that sharp 5 is so prominent. It tells you, hey, this is something different. We're not in F anymore. And on the C minor 7, we have that, we have the 11, the F on top. So if by any chance you thought, when you've heard this for the first time, if you thought that you were in C minor now, that melody kind of is a little signal that that's not the case. You know, it's a tense note for a minor chord, and it kind of tells you, well, this has to resolve somewhere else, so we're not home yet. So I think, you know, again, the melody is crucial, and you know, even moving on to the next part, we have the A7, which again, key of B flat is the flat 7, 7, and we have that melody in the top, or a melody, the sharp 11 in the melody again. So again, kind of tells us we're not, you know, we're unstable, we're going somewhere, and if you can recognize that that's a dominant chord, sharp 11, you know, you can expect perhaps, again, that type of resolution coming up soon. So it's a really well-written bridge. It's just beautiful, you know. You know, and then you could argue that that 9 is kind of unstable on the B flat major 7 when it finally goes to 1, but you know, at that point you do get a sense of resolution. So I think it satisfies it enough. Let's see here. Going back to the G7 sharp 5, also known as the flat 13. Technically, you know, the way it's written, this E flat is the flat 13. It's the 6th degree of the scale flatted. It's not a sharp 5. Sharp 5 would be D sharp. That's being nitpicky. A lot of times you see it written as sharp 5, but, you know, also known as the flat 13. But as I discussed before, you know, you have the altered dominant scale, you have the diminished scale. You're looking for a really tense device to use in your improv, and this one kind of tells you what you're supposed to do. That sharp 5 or the flat 13 signifies altered dominant, or anything with a flat 5, but anything but the diminished scale, or anything with a natural 13. So really right here, never a better time for the altered dominant scale. Another option might be the whole tone. You know, that augmented sound. The altered dominant. Of course, you know, it's again perfect minor, perfect when resolving to a minor chord, because we have that flat 13, which becomes the flat 3 in the chord it resolves to. C minor 7, you know, C melodic minor. Let's see, sorry, C melodic. You know, maybe C Dorian if you want. We are in the key of B flat. It's your call, you know, have some fun there. Again, Lydian flat 7. The go-to for the flat 7/7, or like the 4/7, plus the flat 7 is in the melody. So again, it's kind of telling you what tension to hit. And then, you know, B flat major. Again, here, altered dominant, you know, you can play whatever you want, but if you've got people reading the chord sheet verbatim and they play that sharp 5, it is going to clash. Now, if you have a chordal instrument, a piano player, or another guitar player who's got good ears, and can hear what you're doing and maybe catch you, hitting some other notes when this section comes around, then sure, you can play anything as long as you play it well and you can sell it and other people will catch it. But again, that's just the written chord and what I would recommend, my top choice. And then just coming out of this bridge, maybe I always wonder what to do right here. So one common thing I'll do is just like a little walk up like this. That's a major 7, sorry. But yeah, it's just kind of a, I don't want to do too much. And then that D is close enough to the E minor 7 flat 5 that I feel like I feel like that kind of works. So again, the whole bridge. Oh, right here, I might throw in some just some extra chords, a little bit of motion, like a D minor 7, E flat 6 or something. Just mess around in C minor. So. And then we're on to the best ending of any jazz tune, probably my favorite ending of all time because it's just so perfect. We start off the same way. We start off the same way we started the song off, with this, again, calling back to this particular 2/5. But then we actually get, that 5th root motion. And then we finally do resolve on that tonic 1, the B flat major 7, the tonic. So let's see here, right here, again, we're in B flat. We've been in B flat for some time now. Sharp 4, sorry, I'll do that in black ink. Getting a little too fancy here for my own good. Sharp 4, minor 7, flat 5. This is a 2/5. Here we have the 5/7 of 3 in the key of B flat. It does not go to where we want it to go. It doesn't go to D minor. That's what we're looking for. It goes to D minor 7 flat 5. That's not diatonic, so technically it's unresolved or deceptive. Another 2/5. Here we have something that's not even part of B flat, so we don't worry about it. And then here we have the 5/7 of 2. This, again, looking to go to C minor if we're in the key of B flat. Again, we get a minor 7 flat 5. Very dramatic chord, You could think that, well, yeah, it could work with minor 7s, but that's just not intense enough. These minor 7 flat 5s really pull your ear to wanting to hear what's next, wanting to hear some stability. So again, we have an unresolved chord because this does go to a minor 7 flat 5. Finally here, we have the 2 minor 7 flat 5, a little bit of modal interchange. We have the 5/7, and finally, we rest on the 1 major 7, also on a stable note. Unlike up here, we have that tension 9. Finally, we resolve to the resting on the 5th, which is a pleasant note. So this last part. And some interesting little notes about this section. This is the same, it is kind of the same as the beginning in that this 2/5 is replacing a diminished chord. Now, for whatever reason, on the original recording, Right here, they chose to go with the flat 3 diminished 7. I don't know why. It's kind of cool, but it's definitely the the D flat in the bass. It's not the here. It's clearly the B flat in the bass. Here, in these last 8 bars, it starts off with a D flat diminished 7, and harmonically the same as the 1 diminished 7, but in this case they're doing the D flat. I don't know why, but it kind of functions as a dominant chord because you would be going to, it would be resolving to a D minor chord of some sort. So like if you have a diminished chord, you kind of hear that resolution. So I don't know if that's what they were intending, but it does flow. Now the odd thing is that it doesn't resolve to a D root. This chord in the original recording is actually over an A flat. So just when you think this, because if I look at this diminished 7th chord right here, I might think I just move that right up into that, the C sharp resolves to the D. But instead, in the original recording, we go like that. And then we have the G7. And the rest is, I believe, as written. I think it's C minor 7 flat 5. But just a couple of interesting things there. Yeah, it's a little bit of a crazy twist on this from what we're used to, with these 2/5s. Now I think most people would argue we love the 2/5s. We want to solo over that. It's going to flow very nicely. So I was doing some sharp 11 there. Of course, we've got, handfuls of licks for all these progressions, and yeah, that's going to be a little more friendly to solo over than the flat 3 diminished 7th. So, of course, we're going to opt for the 2/5s, and yeah, it just happens to work out so perfectly here. Again, I really love this ending. If you want to tag it, you would just, tag like these, you go back to the D minor 7 flat 5, however many times you feel. And there you have it. So again, here, some improv notes. Pretty much the same as up there. You might go Locrian natural 2 here. You could use either the diminished scale or altered dominant scale. That's perfectly fine. Because this is functioning as a dominant chord in this case. So that altered, and it's a minor quality chord, so that altered dominant scale wouldn't be too bad. You might try the same thing here, Locrian natural 2. I'd probably recommend altered dominant here, just because we are starting to get a little bit more serious about a resolution. So you want to, depending on how you want to drive people's ears, if you want to make it weird, you can certainly use diminished or whole tone, or you can use whole tone here, but if you prefer not to make it clearly resolving to a minor, that's up to you. And then, yeah, maybe Locrian natural 2 again. I think that's what I did a minute ago. And then here, since we are resolving to a major chord, my first choice would be the diminished scale. We have the flat 9 in the melody. We have the, sorry. Try to do something better than that. And then, so we have that flat 9 in the melody. we can get that natural 13, which is going to give us that nice, friendly, you know, major sound, as opposed to if we have the altered dominant scale. You know, you have to dance around that, you know, flat 13 a little bit, in my opinion. But again, it's up to you. It's your call. These are just my recommendations. I think that's it. I think I made all the points I wanted to make. And let's see. Let's just play through it once and see what happens. I'll pick and choose some of these ideas as we go along. So one thing, a couple things I kind of forgot to mention. Right in the beginning there, when you do that E minor 7 flat 5, I like to go to just substitute the C sharp diminished 7th in for that A7 flat 9. You know, you're really not much of reharmonization. You know, it's just basically changing the bass note of that chord, but that flows a little nicer into the C minor 7, which again I talked all about that before. But that combination I don't think I mentioned before, so that's one to check out. So actually no, I'm good there. Another thing is right here, right before the bridge, I like to go to an E flat 13 there, just a little extra substitution, setting up that D7 flat 9. Yeah, I think that's about it. I think I did this backwards. I'll have to check. Sometimes I go forward, or I go up, you know, ascending. Sometimes I'll actually start here and descend. And then, yeah, I just did the tag here, tried to be a little fancy. And, you know, sometimes you can throw in some sharp 11 towards the end here if you want, just kind of to make it a little bit more jazzy. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. This was kind of a fun video. I hope it all made sense. I had a lot to cover in this song, but I appreciate you sticking with me. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, and please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you want to see more songs analyzed like this. I have a couple of other songs in mind that I'd like to do this for, so again, any feedback is welcome. But I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope you found it helpful, and thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Take care.